evening. It's 6 o'clock on May 15th, 2017. Welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of OR News, where we bring you today's top stories, translated into English every weeknight. The Deputy Assistant Secretary for European and Eurasian Affairs at the U.S. State Department, Hoyt Brian Yee, is on an official visit to Tirane. The U.S. Senator official held separate meetings with Prime Minister Tirane, also chairman of the Socialist Party, Speaker of Parliament and President-elect Tirane, and the Democratic Party Chairman Lozim Basha. The meeting of the U.S. diplomat with the Assembly Speaker has been publicized by the Assembly's press office. Mr. Mehta told the U.S. official that the majority should show its willingness to meet the opposition's demands, saying, "The boycott is not a solution, and the opposition must find all the forces to be involved in the electoral process to serve the country's democracy and the European future. At the same time, the majority should show the maximum willingness to involve the opposition and to respect its demands." The announcement of the press office of the Assembly states that Tirane has expressed gratitude for the continued support of the U.S. towards the strengthening of democratic institutions of Albania, and emphasized the importance of deepening this strategic partnership in the interest of advancing with the judicial reform and with the process of Albania's European integration. For his part, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Hoyt Brian Yee congratulated Mehta for his election to the post of President of the Republic, and noted that the U.S. will continue to support the efforts to strengthen democracy and fight against corruption and organized crime in Albania. Discussing the recent political developments in the country, the Parliament Speaker stressed that the holding of free and fair elections requires more accountability and more inclusiveness. The Deputy Assistant Secretary for European and Eurasian Affairs at the U.S. State Department, Hoyt Brian Yee, held a meeting with several journalists where he declared that the package proposed by David McAllister for the solution of the political crisis is a good proposal that can take the parties towards a solution. Mr. Yee said he hopes the parties will accept the proposal. When asked about the legitimacy of elections without the opposition, Mr. Yee stated that all parties would be good if the competent institutions certify the elections to be regular, even without the opposition. Then the United States will recognize them. The U.S. diplomat emphasized that during his career, he has never seen a political party that wants to take advantage by boycotting. Mr. Yee believes that the Democratic Party's boycott of elections would damage the image of this party, the country, and foreign investments, saying, "The boycott is not a winning tactic. No party that has boycotted has ever won. If some parties can exclude themselves, they damage themselves, the image of the country, and foreign investments." The U.S. diplomat highlighted the need for dialogue as the time is expiring. Regarding the concerns for any possible tension and violence, Mr. Yee said that violence has no place in a democratic state, declaring, "It is really important that the elections are held. Elections are always better when there is a wider participation. The solution should come from political leaders. We hope a solution will be found. Violence has no place in a democratic state. Dialogue between the parties is needed. Time is expiring, but we are optimistic." The Deputy Assistant Secretary for European and Eurasian Affairs said the U.S. will support the judicial reform, regardless of who is in the position and who is in the government. A delegation of the OSCE's Parliamentary Assembly has arrived in Albania. The representative of the OSCE's Parliamentary Assembly, Andrea Nothele, and OSCE Ambassador to our country, Bernd Borchardt, held separate meetings today with Prime Minister Tirane, the Assembly Speaker, and President-elect Ilir Meta. At the end of the meeting with the Prime Minister, the OSCE representatives declared that it was an informative meeting over the election process. When asked by the journalists, the OSCE representatives said they do not make comments on the political situation and that they are here on a monitoring mission to monitor the parliamentary elections, which are announced to be held on June 18th. Meanwhile, during the meeting at the Assembly building, Mr. Mehta emphasized that Albania needs a responsible agreement between the parties. Mr. Mehta declared at the meeting with the OSCE representatives, "No one should play with the fate of Albanian citizens, so maturity, national responsibility, and willingness to find compromise in order to guarantee free and fair elections is needed more than ever." It has been learned that the OSCE ambassador and the OSCE representative have expressed the willingness to mediate the political dialogue between the party. Before meeting with the Assistant Secretary for European and Eurasian Affairs at the U.S. State Department, Hoyt Brian Yee, the DP chairman called on the Prime Minister to pave the way to a solution and not to abuse the peaceful resistance. Coming at a time when the Deputy Assistant Secretary for European and Eurasian Affairs at the U.S. State Department, Hoyt Brian Yee, was holding a meeting with the Assembly Speaker, Ilir Mehta, the Democratic Party chairman declared from the protesters' tent that the patience is coming to an end, and emphasized that elections will not be held without the opposition. The DP chairman spoke of internationals that, according to him, are paid by the Prime Minister, and added that corrupt internationals are being used like chess pieces by the Prime Minister. The DP chairman stated the Prime Minister is playing games at the expense of the citizens, saying, "The Prime Minister refuses to see the problem of drugs and crime. To him, everything is a chess game. He sees you, the politicians, and our international friends as chessmen in his chess game. But the union of the citizens is not a game. The new republic that is coming is not a game. To him, people are only statistics, chess pieces. Power and getting rich are the only things that matter to him." The DP chairman also issued a call to the Electoral College. To the DP chairman, the registration of the lists of candidates has been made out of the deadline, and according to him, the June 18th elections are not legal. Mr. Basha expressed his confidence that the Electoral College will make a fair ruling regarding the opposition's appeal for the registration of candidates' lists. The DP chairman also spoke of the Prime Minister's efforts to buy the opposition allies to enter the elections. The DP chairman declared this from the protesters' tent, where he pledged to go through with the battle for free and fair elections. He is making dirty offers to the allies in order to become part of the process. 15 MPs were offered to a party, 10 to another one, and 5 to another one, only to abandon the Popular Union. But the chairman of the ally parties refused the dirty offer to become part of the chess game. Minister of Foreign Affairs Ditmir Bushati has declared that the political crisis in Albania is a stress test of justice. In an interview given by the Coaditore, Minister Bushati had this to say: "The situation in Albania is a product of the fear from the change that is expected to happen from the implementation of the judicial reform. I have considered this to be a stress test of justice because we are seeing resistance from justice, from strengthening of the rule of law. Everyone understands that elections are not the real problem of the Democratic Party, but fear of justice is the problem. Berisha and Basha have taken the implementation of the judicial reform hostage in objection of what 93% of Albanian people want." When asked about the Russian influence in the Balkans, Minister Bushati said that the European project should be faster, declaring, "We think that Russia is not and never will be an alternative for anyone in the region. We do not believe that anyone in the region is so naive as to be tempted by the so-called Russian offer. This is not and never will be our selection. For this reason, it is important that the European project is more dynamic, more concrete, and to produce more results." Regarding the elections in Kosovo, Minister Bushati wishes that the early elections produce a solution that will help Kosovo walk faster in its path towards the European Union. Members of the Socialist Movement for Integration held a meeting with the young people in Fier today. The chairman of the Socialist Movement for Integration, Petri Vasili, declared that the SMI is the most positive and constructive political force, and he invited the youth to vote for the SMI. Mr. Vasili told the youth that the party he leads is the most peaceful party and that the vote for the Socialist Movement for Integration is a chance for everyone. Meanwhile, the SMI candidate for MP in Fier, Erisa Gigio, said that the Socialist Movement for Integration has a concrete program for education of the youth, which, according to her, will help the youth and Albania make progress, saying, "I am convinced that a qualitative education system is the best weapon to change Fier and Albania." Present in the meeting, the former SMI chairman Ilir Mehta thanked the youth and praised their role in politics, declaring, "We need the youth so that Albania can walk faster on the path towards progress." That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Cosmo K, and on behalf of our news, thank you and good night.